Trustee Hernandez.
Here.
Trustee Hoffman. Trustee Eno.
Here.
Trustee Vella.
Here.
Trustee Vettis. Student trustee Callahan.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna have. Can you lead us in the flag salute? Would you? Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Benjamin. Before we approve the order of business for today's meeting, Chancellor, are there any changes to the agenda? All right, may I have a motion to adopt and approve today's agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Vice President Eno,
Second.
second by Vice President Henderson. Thank you so much. All right, let's move forward. All right, next up, any public comment? Are there any persons signed up to address the Board of Trustees regarding agenda matters? Anybody?
Nobody signed up, sir.
Oh, thank you very much. Okay. Joining us today, I'm very excited and, thank all of you for coming in person. I'm very happy that you're all here. Is Dr. Helen Benjamin. Thank you so much for being here. She'll be facilitating today's board leadership and 2023 goals and planning session. Dr. Helen Benjamin, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And good afternoon. It is a genuine pleasure for me to be here today. I have been here before, but never in this capacity. I have to share that I know a lot about this district because I've been on about in my career in California. I've been on visits to this district for accreditation for at least 4 or 5 times. And I was with the group that came, I don't know how many years ago, 7 or 8. It was the first time you'd had a whole district accreditation visit at one time. And I chaired that whole thing. And it was, we got through it, didn't we? Did a great job. I think we had all 9 colleges, district office, so many people, and you guys passed with flying colors. So,
thank you.
yeah. So I'm happy to be here. And I've done some consulting work at some of the colleges here. I know the majority of your presidents, they're all good colleagues of mine. And so this is a kind of special place for me. And I marvel at what you do and how you do it with so many. And I always marvel at board members who devote themselves, who volunteer to serve as board members, because it's quite a commitment. The time you have to put in that agenda packet you get and having to review all that and come to the meeting. So I want to thank you for the work that you do. Before we get started though, I know you, Dr. Rodriguez has given you information about me, but from my own mouth, I am a career educator. I grew up in the South, segregated South, and went to school with only people who looked like me. And that was not a bad thing for me. It was a wonderful thing, actually. And my role models were all the teachers I had. So what else could I become but a teacher? Started my career as a high school teacher, did that for about 7 years, returned to work at the historically Black college from which I graduated. Best job I ever had, next to working in community colleges. And I guess that's why I gravitated to community colleges, because historically Black colleges and community colleges have a lot in common in terms of the service they render to students and the students that they serve. And so the community college was a natural for me. And I came to California from Texas in 1990 to stay 2 years and stayed 26 and a half. I guess I liked it. And I retired in 2016. And I've been consulting all over the United States since then. And what I do most is work with boards. And I really do enjoy that work. And I understand it from both sides, because not only did I report to a board for 11 and a half years, but I served on the board at Excelsior College in Albany for 10 years and served as its chair for 4 years. So I understand how it feels to be on the other side of this and all the things you want to do. And people keep telling you, you're a trustee, you can't do that. So I understand it from both sides. And so I enjoy the work, because just working with people who have that commitment to students and the students that we serve just means a lot to me because I was one of those students. So let's see, can we put up the presentation? We're going to start and we'll go to the next one. So we have some outcomes for the day. After I learned what you were doing, these are the outcomes I came up with, that at the end of these 2 hours, and we have to work expeditiously today, you'll have an enhanced understanding of each other's personal backgrounds and motivations for service. You'll have a sense of shared community and purpose among you and between you, hopefully. And then you'll have mutual goals and priorities for the next 18 months, maybe 12, but I was just kind of stretching it out just in case you like these so much you want to extend them. Okay, so we're gonna have an activity that connects directly to the first outcome. And would you go to the next slide, please, Crystal? Thank you. So to kind of lighten things up and get you in the mood for talking, I want you to think of one thing, trustees, that your colleagues don't know about you that might be intriguing to them, and share that. And then after we go through that activity, that's quick, the trustees who've been here for a while, would you please share 2 pieces of what you consider really good advice to the newer trustees? And then the newer trustees will respond by sharing their motivations for service and why they chose to be a part of this dynamic board. So who wants to, oh.
No, I just smiled. Because I'm like, ooh, number 2 is interesting.
Yes.
But no, you can start wherever you want.
Well, trustee Eno's hand was up.
That's it. Intrigued. Well, 3 of you I ran on a slate for the last 3-4 months with, so I think they know me pretty well. But I think maybe something intriguing would be, I used to bartend for like 10 years.
Wow.
But I don't drink.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Your favorite cocktail?
To make?
Well, for your customers thought you
Okay,
did well.
So my response to that would be whatever you like.
Okay.
Because my job was to make sure that you had an enjoyable time. But even though I do not drink, if I had to choose, I like tequilas and brown liquors. So clear's not my favorite.
Okay, thank you.
So
Okay. Indeed. And I don't even know you. I never would have guessed it just from my minimal contact. Yes, I student her.
So I guess before my comment, I just want to say thank you, Helen, Benjamin, for being here. I also remember you were at a book signing last year at the City College. And
That's
I got your
right.
book that you wrote with 7 of your high school
Yeah,
friends that all listened to the same college or same high school. I
yeah.
remember that. I actually got a signed copy of your book. So again, thank you for coming out.
Oh, you're welcome.
Interesting thing about me, I've been homeschooled my entire life, and I never learned how to read until I was about between 10, 12 years old. Yeah. And now I'm majoring in psychology at UCLA. So
Wonderful.
interesting.
I'll go. An interesting thing about me is I played the violin for about 16 years and did a lot of, I was classically trained, but I actually, my grandparents on one side of the family were really into mariachi, so I played in a lot of mariachi festivals. And then on my mom's side of the family, her family's from West Virginia, so I did a lot of fiddling. So those were the 2 specialties. Random.
Not sure if it's interesting or not, but I am. So I'm not sure if this is interesting or not, but I am an architectural engineering major turned electrical engineering major turned graduate in liberal studies. And two pieces of advice that I would share with new board members is to follow your moral compass and to not take things personally.
Thank you.
I guess I'll say, I'd love to cook. And, I fascinated by that both they've had enough in the household, so I kind of put it on hold for them. And then advice for new board members, you know, one, seek joy in the work. You know, that you can accomplish, take something, be and go feel good. And that this place is it's challenging because we're unconventional at the same time very good. So as long as you understand that, it will make progress.
Mhm.
As intriguing as bringing that up to when I was little. And I've been on the board a long time now. But I think it's something that we about to do. It took me 22 years to get to this. For the college, what I did, and like many times, work, really years. Then I took it out now. I feel like really a long time.
You may go ahead and answer if you like.
So the two pieces of advice that I would give to board members, number one is take it personally and remember there's more than one side to every story. As board members, we often get emails, phone calls, visits, remember our job is our job is work, and there are other folks that should be. And the other best piece of advice I got is just feeling that I guess mostly like the plus of our leaders, their partners, is just because I take it and I said, means I hear you, it doesn't mean I'm saying yes.
Thank-
Yeah, there you go.
Oh. Very good.
I'll go before. Let's see. I sold in the swap meet for graduate school. I was able to get good space at the San Diego swap meet. So that was fun for 2 years. I used to sell earrings and chokers. Got them for 15 cents. Would sell for $2. And I would make enough to pay for all my graduate school rent.
Wow. Wow.
And with just one little table. It was interesting. So the two things I would say is you're representative of the public. You are not you were hired by the public, and the public is your constituency. You owe nothing to anyone else except the public. The other one is be cautious of the information that you receive. Generally, there's something wrong, and just, and always verify that generally is true.
Hmm.
And then trustee Callahan, you want to answer number 2, because also the new trustees, I don't think you answered number 2, advice of why you pursue student trustees.
Why I pursue student trustee position?
Mhm.
Basically because nobody was pursuing it. Nobody really cared. I did it because nobody else wanted to. And hopefully, by the end of my term, well, I'm already seeing it. I brought a lot more awareness and consciousness to the student trustee position. And hopefully with the few months that I have left, I can make a big enough impact for there to be more involvement in student leadership, because it's important. But yeah, I'm basically here because nobody else wanted to be here. So yeah.
Thank you, trustee Callahan. Trustee Hernandez, you want to say why you ran? And then I know trustee you.
I mean, just like Christina said, I feel like you guys have probably heard my stump speech enough, but, I pursued office because of my students, started my career as a LUSD teacher and, most recently was teaching over at Valley. And, I'm really interested in the intersection between, how policy plays out kind of on the ground and sometimes where that disconnect is. So, it's really motivated me. to run for this seat.
Betsy DeVos made me do it. I think just in general, being a product of the community college system and the public education system, I see how sometimes we all need to kind of step up and rise to the occasion and advocate for our students and our working conditions and just making sure that we have a future for our country. And so I didn't intend on becoming a trustee, but I knew that there's potential to make significant change. So I'm going to try. And if I can, that's why I wanted to serve. And serving since April, it's been incredible. There's a lot of purpose and meaning and a lot of amazing people that are here that we get to work with, and so much more than I ever thought. So I'm just trying to take it all in and figure it out. And like what I think someone said, enjoy the ride. Steve said to enjoy the ride. And so that's hopefully why I'm here.
Okay. And then I'll go last. And this is a weird one too, I think. But I spent a year under NIH grant at UCLA as a lab assistant with Dr. Farhad Perhami and Linda Deemer, who were chief cardiologists. And I was a lab assistant, and I would help clean the pipettes and the centrifuge. And it was a study about the calcification of artery walls due to women's supplements of osteoporosis, in particular calcium, which was prescribed to women. And that caused calcification of the artery wall, which would cause actual heart attacks at an early age. That's why women now are told to not take too much calcium as a supplement for osteoporosis, and there's other vitamins. And that study actually got published and was recognized in JAMA. I was pre-med at UCLA, and I took the MCATs and all of that, and was in the program to go to medical school. And on my way to the interview for med school, I turned around and told my parents I didn't want to be a doctor, and now I'm here. So that was very interesting. Yeah, no, it's just, it doesn't, but it's weird, right? Because it's like a whole life change. But I love where I'm at now. I love, the people I work with, obviously, and what I do for students is, oh my God, like an honor. But yeah, that was my advice. I mean, I've been on the board 4 years now. I guess it would be, student centered, student first. I think when I put this, when I'm thinking of a decision, putting the student, I would recommend, while you're making your decision, to think about the student and how it would affect our students. That's really important. A little advice there. And then two, like begin to really look inward and appreciate what you have at home is a big one for me right now. Like you have your family and that you get to come home after all of this and like have your place in life and your shelter is I think one of the most important things in life. So those are two. I did want to say that on Zoom, our viewers would like for us to speak up a little bit, but I think it's more about the luck of the microphone. So if you have any issues, you can borrow mine or anyone else's. Okay, that's it. Thank you,
Okay.
Dr. Benjamin.
Thank you very much for sharing great advice. And I know each of you a little bit better. I knew nothing before I came in. So thank you very much. Before we get started, well, as we're getting started, I want to share some ground rules because we've got a lot to do in a little time, but we'd have these same ground rules if we had 8 hours instead of an hour and a half left. So the first one, and if you can't agree with any of these, just let me know and we won't have it as ground rule. I'd like for you to listen as an ally, listen and engage with your counterparts, see this as an opportunity to learn and plan effectively for the district, because I think that's one of your goals today. Second, recognize and respect that people are in different places and have a right to their opinion and perspectives. And I know you know all these things, I'm just saying them out loud. And that's just to honor each other and each other's views. And that diversity of opinion is what makes us really good, in my opinion. And sometimes it causes tension that can make us feel uneasy. But if we work through that tension, we typically come up with something that's really good. Look for opportunities in our conversation where you can join the other person, not judge, and also be curious. Ask questions of each other to the extent that we can in this period of time. And then this one can be tough sometimes, as I have this problem. Do not monopolize the discussion. Allow others to participate. So be considerate of other people. And then if you do a little too much, I'll just tell you, we need to move on. We need to hear from somebody else. So don't make me do that. And finally, and this can be really hard with all the technology, but be fully present. Try not to multitask. Don't text or check your phone or emails. And maybe somewhere in here, I'll give you like 5 minutes to check your email, because I know that's important to people because things happen and we're so connected to the devices. But those are the 4 rules. You think you can live with those?
Yes.
Okay, anything anybody want to add to those? Those are, yes. Okay. Okay, thanks for letting us know. All righty, so we're ready to go. So Crystal, if you'll go to the next slide, please. So I want to establish the context for what we're doing. What you're doing today is reframing or revamping the goals or building new goals for this year, 2023, based on the ones you already have. And so I just want to give us a context of that, which I think is important. Next slide, please. I want to start with your vision statement, because what you say has to be in the context of the 3 things I'm going to go over right now. Your vision statement, which I know you know, but I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway to remind you. Your mission statement and the 5 broad strategic goals that the district has. And this vision statement is what you aspire to be. If you were at your pinnacle, height of whatever you can do, this would be where you are. The district will strive to become a national leader in student success by providing high quality, accessible educational opportunities across the greater Los Angeles area that improve students' lives, enrich the area's many diverse cultures, and strengthen the regional economy. The district will do so by continuing to provide a culture of continuous learning and by closing persistent equity gaps. Everything you do, that's where you're trying to get. National leader in that. I think you might be close. I don't know who is the national leader, but it's a wonderful aspirational statement. Our next slide, please. Your mission. What you are created to do. This is your purpose. Your district mission is to foster student success for all individuals seeking advancement by providing equitable and supportive learning environments at all 9 of your colleges. The district empowers students to identify and complete their goals through educational and support programs, and all that runs all through your goals, by the way, you know that lead to completion of 2 or 4-year degrees, certificates, transfer, or career preparation. In doing so, the district fulfills its commitment to the community to improve the social welfare of the region, to enhance the local economy, to close persistent equity gaps, and to prepare future community leaders. It's a bold purpose. So as we walk through this today, these are the things that you need to have in the back of your mind. You have a strategic plan. Next slide, please. It is very detailed. And some of the things that appear in the comments that you wrote, they're right in the strategic plan. All these objectives, what these colleges are going to achieve. So the first one, the broad goals, access to educational opportunity. And you can hear your vision and your mission repeated in these goals, and we should hear that in your goals. Premier learning environment, student success and equity, organizational effectiveness, and fiscal integrity. Simple. Those are the broad goals. Now, I am going to give each of you a copy of the slide presentation. If you want to make notes, it's kind of tiny, I have to tell you. And I don't know, I'm just gonna do it this way. I don't have that many. There you go. And you should have received probably last night or early today a document from me with the summary of the results for the audience who's paying attention. Yes. The board did a little survey on the goals from the year before to see which ones they wanted to keep, modify, retain. And we're gonna do just a little exercise on those. That's gonna serve as the basis for our work today. We are going to just walk through. I think I have enough. I need one for myself. How are you walking? We're going to walk through these. And so we have extras. Oh, with the chancellor. Oh, okay. We are going to walk through these, but I want to just make as you flip through these, I think there were 2 you said you wanted to eliminate. I want to make sure I get those down. I might need this one myself. Use that, but we'll switch in a minute. So let's see. If you go to yes, go functional on the 3rd page, the front side of the 3rd page, you'll see the 2, number 17 and number 19. 17, 3 of you said retain, 4 said eliminate. We can talk about it if you want when we get down there, but I want you to see those, see if we're in agreement. Conducting an inventory of all committees and ad hoc committees to review the statute, et cetera. The majority there said to eliminate that one. And then if you go to 19, that one has to do with COVID. And the majority of you said you wanted that one eliminated. So I have stricken those 2. So we're just gonna walk through very carefully. Let's go to the next slide, please, Crystal. So in the original listing, goals for 2022, student success is your number 1. And to the right are my little comments on those actions you were going to take. Now, the first one said, ensure district-wide efforts to stabilize and increase student enrollment. There will be periodic reviews, et cetera. It tells what all the reviews will be. I see this as, I don't see this as a student success goal. I think from the listing, the things you list, persistence, progress or completion, graduation rates, all of those have to do with student performance. So I'm recommending then an action that has to do with student performance. And then the other part of it has to do with stabilizing student enrollment and increasing student enrollment, which has a direct tie more from student success, more to the fiscal health of the district. And I'm suggesting that that one go there. You'll see in a minute how I suggest you move it. But that's how I see number one. Number two has to do with basic needs. I say keep that. Number three has to do with your fiduciary responsibility around CCJC. That has to do with your board effectiveness and functional priorities. So I'm suggesting that we move that one to the end of the line to functional priorities. And the same for the next one, number 4, which says prioritize and achieve greater proficiency in carrying all the board's responsibilities. That has to do with how you function. It doesn't go under student success. So now, okay, do you understand what I did there? All right, so before you go to the next one, before we go, let me explain. I took some liberties based on all my years of experience with this stuff. And it's not gonna look like this, because some of you wrote that there's something wrong with the way these are organized. You had some criticism of it, so I've changed it around a bit, okay? So let's go to the next slide. And if you go, I revamped it. Turn to page 2 in your handout and you get a close-up look at it. So the goal is still goal 1, student success. And I put a kind of definition as to what that might mean. And you can chime in here if it means something else to you, but this is probably an overly simplistic statement. The board is committed to student success and will act in accordance with this mission in meeting the needs of its students. I just put that as a meaning. I think you need something there that tells states what you mean around student success. And then what your strategic plan does is to point you in a direction. You're trying to get somewhere. Your strategic plan is your roadmap. What you say you're going to do should be connected to that strategic plan. So I just listed there the related goals from the strategic plan. That's why I put them out, went through those a minute ago. So this one on student success relates to access to education opportunities, premier learning environments, and student success and equity. So on the left side, I put what your role is, and then on the right side, the actions you would take to fulfill the role when it comes to student success. Does that make sense? You can tell me this doesn't make sense. It could only make sense to me, but these are your goals. Yes, Kenneth.
Sorry. At the top, the student success, that is a working definition of what student success is.
Well, I don't know what it might mean to you, but
What-
you can change that to something else. I'm just giving an example. I just think it needs something other than student success. But if you think student success is fine, it's fine with me.
Okay.
So let me hear you say something. Yes.
I think it's wonderful. I mean, it's clear. I think that being a newer board member, I think sometimes actions, like what actions we can collectively take, individually take, it needs clarity. And so if we can, reference that to our role and how we can execute those things, it creates a lane and again, actionable items that we can do. So thanks. Helpful.
Okay, and we're going to go through each one of those because you may not want to take those actions, but most of those, 90% of them come out of what was in your original document. I just reworded them, moved them around. So on 1.1, on student success, monitor district college efforts to increase student performance. Remember, it was with stabilized enrollment. It didn't say anything about performance in the original, but it's really about performance when you say you're going to get, so the action would be for you to receive or review reports. And I just put twice a year. You might want to do them. I think in the fall, you'd review them for the spring before, and in this spring, you'd review them for the prior fall. Does that make sense, Chancellor? So receive reports twice a year on performance metrics. Oh, I'm sorry.
Would you like for us to provide input after your presentation? I would prefer that.
Okay, you want me to just go through each goal?
I would, and then after that, have us respond if we'd like, right?
Okay.
That would be helpful so that we could help you.
Okay, so I'll go through this. Each one has a page. So for monitoring the student performance, that's what you don't go out there and look up all this data yourself. That's not for you to do. You don't have time for that. That's not what you're supposed to do. So you will receive the reports twice a year on performance metrics, including but not limited to the same list that was in that other year, 2022. Persistence, progress to completion, graduation rates, degree and certificate attainment, transfer, dual enrollment, and other key indicators. And then another role would be to monitor district and college efforts to provide basic needs for students. You see, I just kind of split it up. So I could tell from your comments that you have a lot of interest. You
Yeah.
know that your students come to you, they can't do their work, and I'll talk too much, but because they have all these needs, they're worried about where they're gonna sleep and what they're gonna eat and what they're gonna wear and all this stuff. And so you want to monitor the efforts that your colleges are taking in order to meet this need. So one of the things you'll do would be to review reports on actions the district and college are taking in supporting and are addressing students' housing, and there's the whole list.
Yeah, that's good.
Make sense?
Mhm.
Okay, I know you're not responding to me now. Okay. And then in 1.3, we're still talking about what? Student success. We have to stay on the topic. Strengthen, here's where you come in directly, board capacity to set policy goals to advance DEIA goals and efforts. How would you do that? You got to have some information, some knowledge. You got to know something, right? So the action you would take, oh, sorry about this. I need to go back to 1.2. Receive reports to understand support for students who are parents. Now, this is a real concern to somebody because there was a
Am I right?
oh, okay. And I was trying to think of, oh my God, how are they going to do this? But all right. Receive reports to understand support for students who are parents. And I left a note in there that 1 in 5 community college students is a parent. That's critical. A lot of our students are parents. I like it myself. Yeah. And then 1.3, strengthen your capacity. What will you do? A, engage, you can be specific about this, target. Engage in study and discussions on current issues of diversity, equity, inclusion, and access. I've been retired 6 years. The issues have kind of changed in the 6 years. There's new vocabulary around DEIA. Now there's an A. Sometimes there's an SJ. It's different. So you need to keep up with what's happening. And so you get presentations and have discussions yourself around those things. Receive reports on college DEIA efforts to make an impact on student goal attainment. And then the fourth role is for you to stay abreast of district and college progress on complying with whatever that is down there. There's nothing. Oh. Legislation specific to community colleges. That was important to somebody as well, and that is important. So you'll receive reports on college compliance. And you mentioned 2, and I was thinking that this might be one you want to have every year, but it would just have different legislation. And this year it might be AB 928, Student Transfer Achievement Reform Act of 21, and AB 1705, which has been around for a while, but you want to know how well the colleges are doing on that. And all of those have to do with student success. I will sit down and make notes on what you want to do with that.
I do have a question.
Yes.
And maybe the strategic plan, does anywhere in the system have input from community?
Anywhere in the system, say again, please.
Does it have any input from community, for instance, so we're talking about our strategic plan, right? So we're the community.
Yes,
So
yes.
How do we know what we're doing is what our region needs?
I'm assuming that when the district did its it's strategic plan, you had charrettes or something and invited community members to participate in the development of those goals. That's typically what happens.
And I would answer that question. So we really get that input is on the workforce development side. So that we're offering programs, services that meet the regional, local workforce. And so that's where it's mostly done. But the other piece is about, and we're in the midst now of the new 5-year strategic plan. So I will verify that we have community input into that as well.
Okay, anybody other comments? I have just one, I really kind of, this is mind blowing for me in this way. I think I have a little bit of, what you call, imposter syndrome sometimes, because, and I think when I got on the board, I think Steve kind of took me aside and said, David, you have a lot of power in some situations. So when you send an email, make sure, so I think for me, I have trouble sometimes understanding the role that as a trustee, I don't have to roll up my sleeves right away and start to, go into the colleges and can I have a DEI report, blah, blah, right? So I think for me, monitor to me, because I come from a political aid perspective.
Mhm.
And I think monitor for me means I'm being lazy. I'll be honest. It's the way I was trained for 20 years working as a political aide. I think some of you who work in government understand that. So I think for me, as I'm learning more and getting into the position more, I know why I have to get reports because I have so many things to review. And then I can make that decision as a governing board member. So, again, I want to kind of, power through that. And I want to say that monitor for us doesn't mean that we're just monitoring, that we're not active. Because then could come a criticism, oh, you're just monitoring as a board member, you're not doing, So I want to give it power right now for all of us, for me, and then, and really lean on getting data, right?
Yes.
Getting those reports. So, because I know I was talking to Chancellor earlier about actually today, because Michelle and I were talking about, we've done so much. We've had, equity money. We want to let you all know what these colleges are doing. And so we want to put together a report and, we talk about that. So I think I want to, put some endorsement over these because I think they're good. And I think we can really work from here.
And if I may respond to that, the
Sure.
verbs are important.
Yeah.
The verbs are important. Your verbs are different from the chancellor's verbs. Although the chancellor can sometimes be in the same position you're in. And what you're in, and anybody who supervises anybody, you're in a position of trust. But there's no way you can know or have evidence of every single thing that happens in this district. You would never sleep. You would never sleep. And that's where the trust comes in. There's no way, I think that was your point. And that's the same thing for the chancellor. There's no way he can know what all these people are doing. He has to trust that they're doing so that's the hard part, I think, of being a trustee, is that you can't get out there and do and check and everything. And those of you who are new, I'm sure you see the difference or saw the difference between how people responded to you before you became a trustee and after you became a trustee. You're not the same to them.
I appreciate your comments because I thought that was my kind of initial reaction to that word, monitor. It seemed very passive.
Totally.
And in my mind, and I think it's always like a constant tension, a good board is always trying to figure out how they can support the district, support, every stakeholder to ensure the success, knowing that we are not out there doing the work, but we are supporting, we're figuring out, have this fiduciary duty, we are monitoring, but we are also figuring out, we are taking some sort of action. And so that was just my one reaction. I do appreciate that though. It puts it more into context, but in terms of the actions, like receiving reports and reviewing reports, to me still feels very passive.
And then the other part that I'm thinking is understood is that you make policy recommendations based on, there's where your action is, based on what you get in those reports.
That's a really.
And that's the power. Because,
Where does it say
you need to read your policies. You have so much power in those policies. They tell you what you do and how you do it.
We have some more feedback.
So I didn't want to take away from that discussion. Can I be heard online? I should be heard online. But I wanted to just make a recommendation on the verbiage for board rule 1.2 for student success. And that maybe it should be to support district and college efforts to provide basic needs for students as a whole. And that's just to emphasize that when we're supporting students, we're doing more than just supporting the individual student. Because like with the example given in item C, we do have a lot of parenting students, but when we also think about it, we look at financial things like scholarships. We also have students who are working to go to school who maybe don't receive enough financial aid. And I think over 40% of college students, undergrads, work and go to school. So that's another important thing that we need to keep in mind for students who work, for parenting students, for any students that have any kind of needs. We want to look at them as a whole, not just them, the student as an individual, but their support network, their children, their family, the people that they support with the money that they get from school. Because a lot of students, in addition to going to school to pursue their education, a lot of them honestly go there just because they need the support and we're the place that they go to get that support. So supporting the students as a whole rather than just as the individual.
I just wanted to offer some comments. I actually appreciate, in my head, I was going back and forth with similar to what David and Sarah mentioned. Maybe all of us are thinking in our heads. I do want to say, as I look at this, and this is maybe us to a certain extent, there's two words that like sort of capture me and I gravitate towards, and I wish sort of the rest of it was sort of built in the same kind of way. I want to go to goal number 2. Like, we talk about learning, but we say premiere, right? And it's an excellence conversation. It's wonderful to like sort of just phrase it as premier learning environments. And maybe it's because of the bond efforts and all this stuff. There's many more bodies and funds that come to be able to do premier, but it speaks to excellence. And many of the other ways that we sort of like, if we're monitoring, I'm not sure if we're speaking to excellence. I'm not sure we're engaging into a higher level of expectation. And so the other word that gets me that I appreciate too is down in goal 1.3, where we talk about, strengthen and engagement, and the engagement as the action. And so I think, I know I've expressed to some of the senior staff here, like, I don't want to be a board that just receives. It just feels like you're filling a receptacle, and and then when you do attempt to say, I got an issue with that, it sends the system in a difficult space, right? I use the example, I mentioned this to Dr. Smith the other day. In all the years with the facilities committee that we received reports on our new buildings, there's only 2 times that I remember the board deciding they want to get in there and mess around with it and not approve it. And one of them was VAC, and the other was Pierce with the 2 buildings. VAC has continued to be a pain for this district, struggle, I should say, better. And, Pierce is now having some regret space. But everything else, we struggle to find out to say, we've already done all the front end stuff of these are expectations and are they being met? So when it comes to us, there's no engagement in this space. It's just kind of yes or no. And whenever we get into an aggressive engagement, it, like I said, it can be very disruptive. But the challenge is how do we take a few steps forward to understand where the engagement process and the sort of, in the strategic plan, we take a look at our goals every 5 years, but we haven't gone back to architectural review. We haven't gone back to the expectations of, of student success or persistence, or to reset and, expect a higher level or expect excellence. And so I think, in my goals, I've always desired to see premier excellence in the standards of what we're trying to push forward,
Okay.
and avoid being sort of the receiving file folks.
So you got some verbs for me other than I had expect? It's a word, I took it out. Just give me some more verbs.
The engagement, strengthen,
Mhm,
reevaluate.
mhm.
uh,
So as we go along, you can just give me verbs.
Sure.
Okay, so and I'll put them in.
Good. That's good. It's our goal.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, sir.
So I wanted to say that in terms of student success, the community part, I think is a big deal, because this year we did a poll and we did a survey on our non-English speakers. And non-English in Los Angeles is not a niche. It is what is. So in doing that survey, we noticed that non-English is a massive area that we just did a pilot study on. And some of the campuses are running classes in the spring. So my point is that the access issue, I think is access.
Yes, yes.
And in terms of non-English, because we assume everything is in English, which is damaging to a lot of folks in the community. And also with the disability component, we've gone through a lot of drama or trauma with regard to where are we with students with disability.
Mhm.
Because I know that folks who are able-bodied have zero clue how folks who are not able-bodied. So my point is, in terms of student success, we have student success for English speakers, and not from a bilingual education perspective, but how do you educate the community in the languages that they are authentic in and need to learn in order to build skills for their development. And that's very different from this.
There could be a C on 1.3, an action that deals with that. That's the DEIA one.
Yeah, I love the A. Yeah.
So, really quick, because I know we want to go to the next, if that's okay after this. we go to the next one. I did want to say that, because this would be kind of a board goal, right? To say we're going to, we're already having pilots on other than English, right? Teaching in other than English. What about multilingual? Is there a space for that? Or is it multi-community, ethnicity? I want to just be clear.
Comma.
Yeah, I don't know. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, for me, it's a multilingual. In my profession, I do PR. We really jump on multilingual because they want us to be able to have translators for every language on a project.
Mhm.
So we hire translators. But again, I want to make sure that that goal is reflective of everyone's, here. So,
So what's the problem we're trying to solve with that one?
because we have, right now, we're doing a project called monolingual, which is to.
The district is.
We're teaching in native language, like
Mhm.
one language, right?
Mhm.
But isn't it, I'm asking trustee Wellness, since we're gonna put in our goal, isn't it more multilingual to be able to teach in every, other languages, not just one? I don't know.
Well, no. The whole issue, Spanish, this is where we've made it very
Right, like
clear
Spanish.
that I think this year, in the spring, the district is doing in different languages. They're doing Korean, they're doing it in different languages. So it is multilingual.
It is, okay, that's one of my questions.
Under no circumstance was it ever meant to be.
Just one Spanish,
No,
okay,
not
all
at
right.
all. So it is, but it's also being, not just translating, being authentic in those languages.
Okay.
So if you're going to speak Tagalog, then you're not translating from English to Tagalog, you're actually having
Learning in
conversations
Tagalog. Okay.
It's something about ensuring is not the right word, but it's something about sensitivity to students who speak languages other than English so that they can be successful in the classroom.
I guess my only issue is Los Angeles is a non-English speaking community. I mean, we're multilingual. And we've always been multilingual. You know, but does the district recognize, I mean, we're having those conversations, but do we recognize that?
Okay, I'm saying, I'm writing right now, maybe somebody has something, no, I want to make sure I capture it though. I'm trying to capture what the issue is, recognize the multilingual nature of the LACCD, I'm just gonna say service area. And what do you want to do? I know you don't want to receive reports, but
Communicate, communicate.
Or
with
do you
those
wanna
communities
get-
so for them to be engaged in LACCD.
yeah, but you're not going to do that,
No.
right? No, so you got something, Chancellor?
Well, it's still-
We're actually providing service, providing education. too.
Right.
But,
You're doing it though already,
well,
or you want to enhance? It's a pilot, okay. Okay,
I wanted to see if, you know, like, in 1.2, we talk about basic needs, and maybe this is one way to sort of take it from beyond the static basic
Mhm.
needs and receive reports. You know, our campus environment culture, you know, how the students feel when they're on campus, you know, the resources they have,
mhm,
from, you know, student unions to athletic facilities to just the quad areas,
mhm.
like places to feel safe. I think one of the takeaways, you know, I found through COVID is many students talk about how their own homes are crowded and loud and didn't
Right.
have access to. So learning spaces were challenging. And so I don't think we've included that kind of dialogue in student needs. Right. So I wonder if we can survey, maybe it's one of these survey to understand what are the kinds of things that, you know, whether it's lounges, study spaces, common quad, you know, like I said, access to gyms and athletic facilities,
Yeah,
whatever, all of that kind of experience to allow, you know, students to feel like they can be here all day long, persist, take extra classes and have this experience. Sense of
Yes.
belonging, sense of culture.
and
Yeah, I
would-
know I have something in here on welcoming. I'm trying to find it.
The verb I would change specifically for 1.2B is instead of review reports and
Mhm.
actions, I think it's more identify needs, like actually identify like the actual needs. Like when we're talking about housing, food, insecurity, financial, physical, mental health, childcare, do we know what those needs are? Are those quantified? Do we have a very, specific idea of like, you know, who those students are, where they're at, what specific need there is? And I think maybe if we're trying to address those issues, we need to have like a better understanding. So maybe instead of review reports, like identify.
But this
data.
is what you would do. Now, you wouldn't do the identifying. The folks out there would do the identifying based on what you write here.
Okay, so maybe
That's-
engage on those or engage those reports.
Or something. No, we don't want the word challenge, no. But I'll come up with something in the next iteration.
Task report, yeah.
Task
That's-
report.
But you understand my point.
No, I
Yeah,
understand.
you
So
have to have the right
I
verb.
guess what I'm asking is like, who are these goals for? Like, I would imagine like, if these goals are our goals, we want to look back at the end of the year and be like, okay, did we do these actions? And so
Right, you
if
gotta
we
check
say
and see.
receive a report, like, oh, well, we didn't receive a report. But what is our action is to task the report, right?
Pretty much.
Because I wouldn't expect the district to give us a report that we didn't ask for.
Pretty much.
You know, like, so would that be it?
Sometimes they do.
Yeah.
A lot of the time. 'cause some of
Dr.
them-
Benjamin, we have trustee Hoffman over here, so let's see if we can get.
You're the board, and what is it that? What are the goals that we would like to see accomplished in the next 12 to 18 months? I'm not so sure we have to have the how
in the what? Am I correct about that?
Mhm.
And so, like, let's just talk about student parents, for instance. Our institutional effectiveness department and our researchers, based on can run reports and identify who are those students, all those questions that you were just asking. And then we as a board can say what we would like to see, but we are not the how do we get there. So I feel like today we should set the what and not worry about the details. Am I on the right track, Dr.
Well,
Benjamin?
kind of, but I can see worrying about the details. I mean, these are good questions. What do you do with it when you get it? So you hear the report and you determine whether there are policy implications for that. You engage in a discussion around it so you can see what the needs really are.
And I want to remind everyone that, you know, when you guys task reports and there is a place where we can discuss it as a board in our committee of the wholes. So, you know, bring back your reports there, especially if you're championing something. I think asking Vice President Henderson or myself, hey, you know, at your budget committees or whatever, we have something that we would like to further. It's choppy, my microphone, I apologize. Dr. Benjamin, can we move to the next goal? Is that okay with you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we got
Yeah.
50 minutes. This is good discussion, though. I'll try to have, I hear you.
You see us.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's go to the next slide. The next one, I think there's not a receive in this one. I looked ahead. All right. So this is the original. You just had two actions here. One was to achieve long-term fiscal health through efforts that are student-centered, promote efficiencies, and maximize productivity. I suggest a clarification of the language there, and you'll see it on the next slide. The next one, be responsible, go back. Be responsible stewards of the public's financial investment in LACCD and minimize the impact of the end of the district's current fiscal hold harmless period established by the state. And you're going to see all those words, but I kind of moved them around a little bit. And then we're going to add enrollment growth. I think you kind of agreed with me on the other one that increased enrollment should be with where the finances are. And then there's one further down on risk management, but I think it goes in fiscal health. Okay. And then there's one about SCIF lobbying that was further down. And I moved it here. I'm suggesting, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So that's my reaction to what was there. So let's see what I did with it and then we'll discuss it. It shouldn't take us long on this one, but maybe it will. Next slide, please. So here it is revamped, kind of definition. The board is committed to demonstrating sound judgment in the use of the district's current and potential fiscal resources. I won't tell you what else I started to do with this, but I just left it like that. So the related goals have to do with organizational effectiveness and fiscal integrity. So I just put one role and 4 actions. The role would be your role to provide direction. How you like that, Trustee Veras? Is that better? In the long-term fiscal health of the district through efforts that are student-centered, promote efficiencies, and maximize productivity. That's your role, providing direction for all of those things. That's an important role. And so what are your actions going to be in this role? You're going to lobby at the state level for a revised funding formula that will support students in California community colleges. Now, you need to let me know if that's okay with everybody. Somebody had that written down there and I just put it in. B, work with the chancellor in ensuring the district is financially prepared for the lifting of the current hold harmless provision. C, stay abreast of college and district and college efforts to increase enrollment and regularly receive updates on and assess, oh, there's a receive, and assessments of the district's exposure and liabilities.
You said what to receive?
No, I was just kind of teasing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
She promised no receiver.
So the actions have to do with lobbying, hold harmless, increasing enrollment, and the district's exposure and liability, all under the revamped fiscal health goal. Does that make sense? Oh, now I'm done.
No, I just want to make sure that I think you know, you captured all of our comments on the survey.
Mhm.
And, you know, if you guys are okay with it, we can basically give you the green light to keep these as goals, and add some more new ones, right?
Yeah, if you want to.
Yeah. So, yeah, trustee Boland, go ahead.
Please, I cut you off, sorry.
Okay. The one thing I wanted to say is that, and trustee, you know, I know you probably put. I want to just, you know, applaud you because that is a big, big part of fiscal health and how we create revenue enhancement. So kudos to you. And yeah, Maria's over there. Yes, you know, I know how to do that. By the way, that's the chair position that I miss the most, FYI. But my point is that that those efforts that you have here are stuff that, you know, I think go hand in hand towards fiscal, which is good. So I'm saying this is good. I would like to leave these this way. But obviously we have to hear from the rest of the colleagues. So let's see.
So in terms of these, in terms of funding, you know, we have our director of Jeanette Gordon, we have director of everything, where's Jeanette Gordon? We have our increased enrollment president. I think my concern with the risk assessment component is that I think it's a bit more urgent. Because it says receive updates. And, you know, and again, the concern that we have, you know, we don't have a risk manager. We don't have, so in terms of a board goal, just a suggestion is that I think it should be a little more action oriented because we've seen the lack of the risk management component that it's costing us cash. So I appreciate that it's there. I would just add a little to
Okay. That's fair for me. I'm fine with it. Anything else, guys?
You want me to add some?
I would just say,
Okay.
I would just
Well,
say that,
jump in,
Think about
Maria.
it. I'm gonna put.
oh, yeah, I would just say that I like the I like the actions on this slide
Yeah.
better than the other ones, just because
Yes.
they seem more direct,
Mhm.
or just like they seem
They're
more like
active.
guideposts, like, oh, okay, that's what our goals are. That's what we're trying to do for this specific slide.
Perfect. That's good. Perfect. Over here.
Yeah, I as well, and I wanted to maybe throw out a couple verbs. So
Oh,
if
thank
you can
you.
go back and put them on that one
Yeah,
and get rid of the review and monitor a little bit, but like stuff like, you know, cultivate, ensure, support, advocate, improve, you know, like there's ways we can improve things and assess, sort of action oriented stuff. So they can come to us in reports and we can assess a report, or we can,
mhm,
you know, whatever. So just, you know,
I like that. Thank
we're
you.
over there. Yeah.
Trustee Callahan.
Yeah, also going back, I know I should have got to this earlier, but for 1.3, I guess, again, for the verbiage, add maybe community leaders, or specifically in 1.3, add a piece on how we can actively engage community leaders and other organizations in the community in our goal to increase diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. To not just have people within the district, but people who are also serving the community of our district, to get that community engagement. Because personally, I have not seen much of, or that many outside entities kind of coming to our board with that kind of information to share with us.
That's a good point. Thank you. Any more on goal 2? Chancellor, do you have any other points that we could add on fiscal health? I mean, I think everything's pretty much there that we do as board members.
It is to the specific.
Right,
action,
it's specific.
relevant, being, specific, and measurable, so no further reaction, to do good. I'd wordsmith a little bit on a few of them, but the ideas are there.
And remember, this is 1 year.
Right.
You're not talking about 2 or 3 years. This is
Right.
what you're gonna do in 1 year, so you don't wanna put too
I-
much.
I know Gabriel, and I want to interject here. I know Trustee want to mention risk management. what about us looking at expenditures through our fiduciary responsibility? Is that something that you guys are interested? I know budget reviews expenditures. And we
I
get
agree.
expenditures at the board, every board meeting. I don't know how deep you all think of that as a way to improve our fiscal health, right? I know people last board meeting had questions about certain contracts, which came to the board, which I think is appropriate, the questions. Should we put that there? Trustee Alvarez.
Yeah, I mean, something that other districts do, and I think we've done.
Something that I've seen other districts do and that I think we've done in the past is find alternative ways to have income, whether that's through, more of the kind of agreements we do when we rent out our facilities and whatnot, and talk about, some of the real estate that we have and ways that we can
Okay.
generate income. And so that might be a good goal when we talk about fiscal health.
I want to support that, and Trustee Vettis, go ahead, because
So maybe there's a.
that was along the line.
There's a
yeah.
2.2 where we can talk about,
Okay.
accountability or improve revenue generation. And it could be through, it's beyond, I mean, I get stuck because the promote efficiencies in there covers a lot. But, what we don't have is sort of creative approaches to this.
Yeah.
And are there sort of opportunities that can be developed that go beyond sort of the efficiencies in the sort of same old business? So, I don't know, it's more of a stretch because I think, we haven't challenged ourselves to assess the revenue opportunities and sort of even and the risk management question, I think, is the opposite side of that, conversation and dialogue. But, the efficiency piece and maximize productivity, like I get that, but it's within the context. Right now, I think we ask this question within the context of what we do, not necessarily in modeling, outside, sort of we had our 10-100 project, which is just different than anything we do so far. It's a public-private partnership project that's revenue generation there. But like to be able to explore stuff that goes beyond it, I'm not sure if efficiencies are maximized, maybe fit, maybe it's beyond the boundaries of what we already are doing.
So,
Chancellor, let me get the chancellor really quick.
Just a quick
Yeah.
observation for the activities that may appear too operational for board goals, always direct them to the chancellor. That's in draft form right now. For example, for council goal, explore alternatives that we
Revenue
create
enhancement.
opportunities.
Yeah.
Then that's it.
Yeah.
Direct it, will happen, you'll assess it in a
Sure.
different context, but same goal will be met.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a safety valve. That
Yeah.
gives you, because we have to be clear to distinguish between board goals, chancellor goals, college goals, et cetera. So it's just.
A very good point. It's a very good point. I think the implementation effort is on the chancellor's goal. Let's go over here one more.
In terms of the finances, I think one of the things that I've been challenged for a while with regard to finances is that, and I think the last board meeting was a bit telling in that I've seen our board agenda the standard is notice. I'm giving you notice. It's buried within the document, and I'm giving you notice, right? And I think it's a good structure to have the budget committee go through everything. But if you're not on the budget committee, how do you know what's going on? You're just asked to kind of receive a document, where being a fiduciary is the biggest thing. Just one thing that I'd like to see us evolve into is a separate, simplified budget report that goes to the entire board. Could be 5 minutes, could be 10 minutes, where the standard is that a reasonable board member would be able to understand it, that staff have an affirmative obligation to bring stuff up and not just be within the report, right? And actually read it and it add up. And I think the last board meeting for me was illustrative because I've seen that several times. But one trustee brought it up and she was right. So in terms of accountability, I think just thinking about that, I'll leave that.
And, I want to kind of move on from this topic, but I do think those things, Dr. Benjamin, you know, in agenda setting, Vice President Eno did request more background information at each agenda item on the expenditure portion. For example, did this vendor have other contracts? How much have we spent there? So I think there's something to be said of that being part of, you know, and however we word it. I would like for this to remain concise,
Mhm.
even though, you know, we're thinking of maybe adding the revenue enhancement and the chancellor's goals. I know we spoke about it ironically, Chancellor, with you call it direct revenue, where each college does things that they can augment their current budget allocation, which, you know, we're seeing some colleges do really well with leasing some of their properties to events and so on and so forth. So those two, I think I'm good with, and I would like to throw my support to, and then
So what if we said something like, devote time to, you know, we had that one over there about studying and discussing, learning about DEIA. Do you want to learn about the budget? Do you want to explore alternative sources of, or do you want, you could say in here to make sure you have it covered, is direct the chancellor to explore alternative sources of revenue. It's already in his goals, you document it here, he's going to give it to you.
yeah, something like that, like that. If we put it in his goals, we still have to have a footnote here that we did that, I
Yeah.
think. But I think the most important piece of this here is that I trust you after this meeting to come up with,
To figure it out.
to figure the language, yeah. And not to, you know,
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. I just want to remind you that it's 1 year. This is what you want to happen in 1 year. And you're talking about risk management. You want these, that's going to happen this year,
Well,
the things that are here.
right, so risk.
I'll do a
management
little,
also-
but yeah, I know. All right. We're not going to talk about it anymore because we had 32 minutes.
right.
All right.
Trustee
Yeah,
Gallen.
I
go ahead.
just, you know, because we're speeding through this, just two keywords, transparency and staffing. Because in addition to increased enrollment, we have been having a lot of staffing issues throughout the district. And despite the fact that it may not wholly be a fiscal issue, we do want to ensure that we do have enough fiscal health to, you know, support additional staffing for some of our colleges.
Absolutely.
Just adding.
Thank you, absolutely.
Okay.
Ready, next one?
We go to goal 3 then, that has to do with institutional effectiveness, which I think maybe should be organizational effectiveness, but we can get away with this, I guess. Original develop policies and initiatives to strengthen the operational efficiency, effectiveness, and oversight of the district and the colleges. And my suggestion was that number 9 be made part of the definition, and you'll see it on the next page. 10, participate in the process. I didn't put anything here because I didn't know what to put. You have to help me. Participate in the process and ensure that the district is on track for a successful spring 2023 accreditation of the district's 9 colleges. I did include that somewhere else. You have a visit this spring?
Yes.
Okay. I took care of it in another spot. Number 11, provide leadership and conduct appropriate feasibility studies, including due diligence to address unmet facilities needs and basic needs of students, including partnerships, et cetera. So I divided that one thing into a role and an action, which you'll see in a minute. Number 12, effectively recommend the district's interest at local, state, and federal venues to advance student access and success by supporting diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility throughout all levels. I did not understand this at all because I was trying to figure out when I was thinking about this, I put retain as is. What action, what does supporting diversity, equity, inclusion at all levels look like for the board? That's the action we should have. What do you do? What form does that take? And 13, consider policies and initiatives that promote the development of future leaders across the district and support internal pipelines for career advancement. And I said broaden to include strengthening all internal leaders. So let's see what it looks like. Next slide, please. So the kind of statement describing it, the board is committed to developing policies and initiatives to strengthen the operational efficiency, or we could say the institutional effectiveness and oversight of the district and the colleges. I just took that from the number 9 that was in the one before, because that's what all of this is. So 3.1, participate in the process and ensure that the district is on track for successful spring 2023 accreditation of the district's 9 colleges. I put that as your role. And you need to do 2 things. A, participate in activities that prepare the board for the visit. I don't know if you have somebody come to the commission, talk to you, there are all kinds of things you can do with that. B, monitor the development of each college's ISER. Do I need to spell that out? I wasn't sure. Okay. With close attention to the standard that applies to the board. And that would be standard for leadership and governance. And 3.2, provide leadership and direction on appropriate feasibility studies, including due diligence to address the unmet facilities and basic needs of students. And then A, monitor the development and implementation of feasibility studies undertaken by the district. I wasn't sure whether there's a feasibility study in process or what, if that was a reference to something in particular when you talked about that in the original? Okay. All right, and then B, work with the chancellor in exploring partnerships with the county, local agencies and other entities with expertise providing housing assistance and monitor progress of this activity. And then 3.3, effectively represent the district's interests at local, state, and federal venues. I left it just as it was. And then A, I put the action would be to meet regularly with local, state, and federal legislators to apprise them of the district's interests, needs, and initiatives. And then 3.4, consider policies and initiatives that strengthen administrative capacity district-wide. A, receive reports and updates on progress made in programs designed, I know you have some, to promote the development of future leaders across the district. And then B, receive a report annually to determine, here's an action here, the extent to which human resources are adequate to meet the needs of the district. That was a kind of recurring theme in your comments about HR and not enough administrators and too little of this, that, or the other. Yeah, yeah. So if you get those reports annually on the year behind you, that could be helpful.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's start with trustee feedback since we'll start here with trustee Hoffman. Thank you, trustee Hoffman.
Thank you, President Vella. So Chancellor, I have a question. All 9 of our colleges received the planning grants for housing from, so to my knowledge, and maybe it happened in IESS or in facilities, but to my knowledge, I don't think the board has seen. Okay, so can that be included in this goal? Can we be very specific about making sure that we get a report on those planning grants?
Yes, in the context of addressing student-based needs, that's where I understand it can be an ad hoc committee.
Correct. Yeah.
So it'll be embedded within that. Clearly, that is the place for it. But no, we've not started, in Dr. Smith this year, we've not started to do the assessments just yet because what type of housing.
That was last year's budget. So when is that money still?
This year we have.
Okay.
Yeah, but you bring up a very good point. And this is important with our facilities. So, and is that as much as I'm gonna try to separate, as board president, the 2 things, which is the facilities portions of this, which the planning grant specific to your point on that. But as much as I try to keep it away from basic needs, it is a basic needs component that's gone statewide, your committee in the state level. So that's why there's kind of this basic needs component that captures both that planning grant plus the partnership we have with the nonprofits for the beds. That goes on the policy, but the actual building plan that you're referring to, I absolutely agree that that can then be brought forward from, over here, from the CFP over to the various committees, over to the board in general to get a report. Ultimately, Trustee Alman, I would love to see it, you know, into the board, in a board report to all of us, once it's initiated. So anyway, completely agree with that. Yeah.
I guess my question is, whose goal is that? Is that a board goal? Is that a chancellor goal? Is that a part of our strategic plan for each college? Like, where does that go? And how does that get reported back
It's a
to us?
board goal. Yeah, it's a total
For,
board goal.
yeah, for you to stay abreast of what's happening with that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and it is a board goal because we're kind of like, honestly, we're shaping it in many ways, in my opinion,
Mhm.
still to this day. I mean,
Leadership, direction, for addressing student-based. community. That's the broad umbrella. And you let that.
so I just really quick wanted to, and I hope, you know, for some of you, Trustee Buena and Trustee Vettis, that we dealt with some of these feasibility studies. Um, I do think that 3.2 was kind of done already. I don't think 3.2B was done yet. But I think if you guys are okay, I think we
Which one
can,
was done?
it's 3.2, provide leadership and direction on appropriate feasibility studies, including due diligence to address unmet facilities. We did that with the facility needs assessment. Yeah,
I can't read it.
no, that's fine. So A, I think we did. 3.2A. Is everything, is
That was
everyone okay
done.
with that?
But did we do that in the context of what Andrew Trustee Hoffman was just talking about?
Yes,
We
it was
did it-
part of the needs assessment.
It was part of the
Yes.
preparation for the bond.
So now that it happened, you need to stay abreast of, that's the planning grant,
Now
right?
it's
Oh.
in,
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
there's
different. Okay. So we're removing A.
A,
Okay.
correct, A. I think B is still relevant. I mean,
But I thought the planning grant we haven't seen yet.
so the planning grant specific to our basic needs housing dilemma that the state went ahead and set aside some money statewide to actually move forward with for community college districts that would like to perform housing initiatives. And so the plan, we picked up the planning grants. The bond measure is what 3.2 is about, which is separate from the planning grants, yeah. But we did this big facilities needs assessment.
Yeah.
So that's what they're referring to there.
so how do you want to revamp from appropriate facility studies, due diligence, et cetera? You know, and I wanted to offer maybe one suggestion as a replacement, and this is something could probably use some clarity and some guidance on is sort of our community use, Chancellor and I have talked about swap meet challenge over recently when some battlegrounds in City College. How we rent, I mean, the vast majority of our schools, they're kind of vacant, as opposed to community part, like being able to, like, I want to use and raise as a model the Santa Monica district, which takes the city, the school district, and the community college and layers it all together for everything from band camp to soccer. They all got, they're on a central point of sort of activity. But we don't have that culture. We're kind of, we're very protective of what we have. We'll make prioritization for like a longstanding club as opposed to, maybe some of the highest unmet needs in the county that we're in. And then the other side to that is, I think bringing people onto the campus just to see that they are premier facilities, is good visibility and attractive and connective. But I think we don't have that culture. We don't have that demonstrated leader. We don't have that policy to facilitate, leveraging our assets. But even
We
stuff
don't.
like, for example, when we do rentals, we sometimes our rental costs, and Trustee Henderson and I have talked about, sometimes our rental costs are like just out of this world, astronomical. Our rules are, we become cumbersome to engage in partnerships. And, you know, we should view the city and the county as real partner, and, you know, the unified district as real partners in some of this dialogue, but we just don't have policy. We don't have space there. We don't provide good enough guidance for our colleges to be able to just figure stuff out on our own. And so sort of the default is either a really expensive sort of proposition or nothing.
Yeah.
You
Let-
know, so
First of all, thank you for that. And I want to support the notion. I'll tell you this much, you know, right now, I think each college is doing great and leasing and being community driven. But then there's district-wide things like the LA Olympics that are coming. You know, how we need to have those things hashed out and what we're gonna, you know, be able to offer up or care about or whatever. So I'm gonna stop there myself. Trustee Callahan, if you don't mind, I'm gonna go to Trustee Wellnut. You had your hand up, and then Trustee Callahan. Go ahead.
I think one of the goals that we're missing is understanding the district-wide model with regard to our facilities. And we saw that, well, actually, we've seen that at every campus with regard to local versus district, right? And what are the liabilities if something goes wrong at a campus? And, you know, so something may happen at a campus, but then the district pays for it out of our budget. And we've kind of seen that. So what, as we're having these discussions, I just think we're gonna have to have that conversation, right? Understand what our current model is, right? Because it may be even different than I'm even understanding it. Then is that a good model? Or do we need to move into another model? I'm not identifying what that model is just what that is in order to share risk and liability. Also to understand, even from clean bathrooms, how we're going to be fiduciaries and understanding that our campuses are functional. You get what I mean?
Yes, yes. As a matter of fact, in agenda setting yesterday, this is just for your background. I'll go to Trustee Callahan right now. There was a agenda item where a college was going to lease something, you know, lease a parking lot. We, as board leadership, obviously you guys get to see it at the next board meeting, asked, can that person bring in some liability insurance? So that then the risk isn't just on the district. It's, you know, it comes in a package where when they apply to use our parking lot, they would provide their own insurance for liability, right? So that stuff is something we haven't yet all created laws about, or sorry, or rules, sorry, yeah. That's where we want to, I think, should go.
But as a board rule, we could say, let's identify what our current model is, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm not sure that all of us understand who we are with that, right? Before we even know what we want to be. So from do we want to do all this? And I'm only saying, I think we need some basic understanding first.
Got it.
before we do
All right, thank you. Okay, Trustee Callahan.
Oh, yeah. So I guess as a section C of 3.2, we should have a section that focuses specifically on feasibility studies done on our financial alternatives for students, such as like scholarships and whatnot, assessing how effective they've been in supporting students, potentially looking at students who are working, maybe underemployment, students who are working but aren't making enough to pay rent, looking at the effectiveness of students' financial situations, because often we do have scholarships that we give to them, but do we know how effective those scholarships actually are in the long run?
Where do you want to put that again? I
It's
apologize.
in there in basic needs, I think. I think we had scholarships and finances in that one.
I'll get scholarship finances, but when we're looking at feasibility studies, so we can actually assess the effectiveness of scholarships and some of the other employment opportunities that we give to students in our district.
Got it. Dr. Benjamin will do her magic and put it in there, in the right place. But yeah, no, that's a really good point. We don't really look at that. And I think we should look at that more, especially if we engage on new initiatives.
David, I wanted to
Yes, Trustee Willis.
and I started bargaining with trustee Henderson the other day about this. I, you know, I think one of the great things that we do annually, and we all participate in it, it all just happens to land on the same day, so not all of us get a chance to experience it all at once, graduation. So, you know, and I've mentioned this to the chancellor and a few others, like, I just feel like it would be a board goal to sort of be premier in the graduation experience. Especially coming out of COVID, it just feels like we're not there, you know, having them all crunched together.
Yeah.
Even like from production value to the way it just feels. And lots of us have, you know, jumped in from, you know, Rainbow grad to Black grad to Latino grad to, you know, just all the campuses themselves. How we do that experience, I think we need to revisit the expectation, revisit the dialogue. What more can we do? What, you know, I mean, even I think I've gone where people have gotten the diploma jackets that look great, and sometimes they get a little simple thing. So we don't have a consistency in that experience sometimes, and you know, but just to, you know, and if it's something where the college is just trying to like manage a budget to sort of get it, like maybe that's just the one thing, because it's a culmination experience that we should just say like, look, we want to find some commonality. We want to find, you know, a way to make this be as memorable as possible so that student can continue to put their college, their community college on their resume from here forward and just absolutely be proud of it. And as an entree point to alumni associations and those kinds, just continue the contact here. But I just feel that like for as good as they are and as many valuable experiences as I've had doing them for the last number of years, you know, I've always come back wanting more. I always come back, you know, sort of bite my tongue saying, well, what can we have done to help this better? And so in terms of leadership and effectiveness and where we're at,
Yeah,
I mean, I
that's what-
almost want to say
my next question was, is that relating to?
it's an experience of how we effectively deliver the culmination. Right, in terms of, and it does take the institution as a whole, but I don't know if it fits here.
And
or-
encourage and support a premier graduation experience at all the colleges.
Hey, I like that. I
Okay,
like that. I think that's valuable, but you know,
It is to improve the student experience.
yeah, absolutely.
It's on the student success when you think, Chancellor.
I mean, it is a memorable part of being where you come, like, I think it's like everybody's number one engraved thing in their mind, besides their first day in college, is the last one. I mean, at least for me, geez, especially when you take 5.5 years. Yeah, all right, that's a good one too. Okay,
Well, wherever it fits, if it's here or if it's
Right.
in student
Okay,
success.
got
I
it.
didn't know what to call it because I thought, you know, organizationally, we all got to embrace it.
so in the interest of time, I think we're gonna trust that Dr.
Oh,
Benjamin
I'm
will
gonna
put it
do
somewhere
this.
good.
Skip the next one and go to the
Okay,
last one. Okay.
but
So
there-
keep going. I'm sorry, one more. I'm just gonna cut to the chase on the fourth one.
I
It has to
love
do
it.
with functional priorities. I don't think we need to review, because everything that was over there, I just reordered it. So the board is committed to building its capacity for effective board governance. The related board goal, strategic goal is organizational effectiveness. Your role, engage in individual trustee and board development activities and uphold principles of effective trusteeship. So first, I don't know about design and implement a strong board development program with greater engagement and emphasis on new trustee orientation. Now, you see, I have some words there I don't usually do, because it looks like to me you would do this, or you could have staff to do it, or work with the chancellor to design and implement. That was in your original. Has that been something you wanted to do and have not been able to do? To design and implement this program?
We've done pieces, I think.
You still want to keep it on there?
Well, I have a question. I mean, the trustee Eno and Hernandez, how was your onboarding? I mean, this year?
Our onboarding is ongoing. I've been happy with it. And I mean, my personal opinion is that I think we have such huge issues to tackle. I don't think this should be,
Not this year.
I think we've been, you know, the orientation's been good and I feel comfortable talking, you know, emailing, calling people.
Trustee Callahan?
For regular trustees, it may be a little bit different, but for the student trustee, I'd say that should be kept on there, especially with some developments that have come from the SAC committee and how we are looking to change the student trustee position, I think that there should be a heavier emphasis on at least the student trustee orientation. So.
I just want to briefly add, if that's okay with everyone, that the component of shared governance in the district, at least for me, is very important because you know, so much of what we do is contingent upon the buy-in of
Mhm.
all of our stakeholders, and we have so many, especially, you know, obviously the faculty is a big one in the room, but like we still have like everyone else. And anyway, I thought that for me as a board member, I would have wanted a little bit more understanding on shared governance.
Oh, okay.
I learned it on my own. You know,
Mhm.
I read, but I would like to know a little bit.
It's
And
important.
it's kind of very important, right? So anyway, I'll stop. Trustee Hoffman.
Maybe we can revise the goal to talk more about professional development opportunities so that we can get additional training. You know, we do have a professional association, which is the Community College League of California. We have ACCT. We have lots of other opportunities to get professional development. So maybe we can just tweak that goal a bit. And I do hear you, Student Trustee Callahan. So maybe we can have a goal, a board goal, to ensure that we are doing our due diligence to do our part of onboarding for the student trustee. I think the rest of your sort of onboarding needs to come from student affairs and maybe from someone at the district office, correct, Chancellor? And that would maybe be in your board goal, but there is probably a role for us as a body to help onboard the student trustee as well. So however you want to work your magic, Dr. Benjamin, in
Okay,
crafting that.
okay.
And then Vice
and-
President Eno.
Yeah, I think along with that, even if it's just us kind of creating like a packet or like a binder of some sort to have to give to new folks,
Yeah.
right? And then I think too, your introduction of like, what is your advice? Just that in general, I think it was very valuable for the new folks, you know. So I think for us, as far as what our actions are, just to offer that, right, onboarding and recognition that we all come in with different experiences at different places.
That's a
Okay.
really good idea.
Are
Trustee
others
Lee.
of you interested in the participatory governance training? Shared
I'm
governance
doing
training
I'm doing it.
on your own?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was thinking we haven't acknowledged our responsibility to the chancellor in terms of feedback, in terms of the chancellor is the only, it's on there?
On board roll, you mean?
No, because we're talking about the student trustee and I just thought to myself,
Oh, got it. Okay.
in terms of our responsibility is, as one of the shared responsibilities that we have is the oversight of the chancellor.
Got it. Oh, got it.
And that could take different functions. It's the chancellor evaluation, that's monthly feedback, that's interaction, that I'm just thinking that's not, I don't see it structured, but that's one of our
Yeah,
massive goals.
I would probably coin it as the interaction with the chancellors, you know, and I don't want to single you out, but I've always thought of it as the chancellor's office for some reason versus the chancellor. I don't know if you guys do that, but like to me, it seems like you have your own kind of setup and we have our office. I know we speak in terms of like board of trustees and chancellor relationship, but I've always seen it as board of trustee office and chancellor's office and how we interact to be able to, you know, do our job. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it that way, but that's what I see.
Part of the reason I'm saying is that the way it's structured is that the public created the community college district and the board. One of the tools that we have to manage the district is through the chancellor. There's others. We can
Correct.
hire others. We can do all that. As a major board goal, I'm not sure why we wouldn't put that there somehow.
Yeah.
I'm not saying how. I'm not saying what words.
No,
I'm just saying.
we'll let Dr. Benjamin, she's
Your
taking
magic.
everybody's input, but I really do want us to be really cognizant, you know, in this way, right? Because in the, you know, my experience in other agencies has been that the board of trustees we are an entity together. That was my whole point of the story. I'm sorry. Yes, I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Dr.
Okay, we're moving
done.
along to B, and now, trustee Hernandez, we get to identify needed expertise, resources, and monitor feasibility studies to support the ambitious education and training for individual trustees board as a whole. A and B kind of go are all around training. This was on before. Did anything happen with this last year? About identifying expertise and to support ambitious education and training for individual trustees and the board as a whole? I don't,
I think, I mean, I always took this as sort of our activities in league and
CCLC, ACCT and all of that. Okay, I
boards,
got it.
Yeah. I don't know if that was the right way to look at it, but I think all of us do some part of
Okay.
that. Yeah.
I'll combine those some way. And C, I changed this, reversed it a little. Regularly review accreditation, ACCDC standard for leadership and governance to ensure trustees are mindful of their fiduciary and accountability responsibilities as defined by the commission. That was easy. I have a little quiz that I do on that. See how much you know. I think you need that one, whether you want to think about it, you just have to have it there. And we'll make A and B one. And then conduct activities that will strengthen board organization. Do you want this, develop and implement an operational plan clearly defining board functions and responsibilities? I'm not sure where that came from. This was just there. Any memory on that one?
I mean,
I may interject, that may have been put in because of 401C, preparing for accreditation, to ensuring that the board has clearly defined and disaggregated roles from administration. That might have been
Okay.
the influence there as we were preparing
Mhm.
for the 2023 visits. Just wanted to reaffirm. And the
Yeah.
board's pretty good at.
And we're updating all 4 goals.
So
That's
we
correct.
can,
That's the other side to it. We're in the process of updating all 4 rules and policies.
right, so we can remove A because it's subsumed in C.
Yeah.
It's clear in C. I kind of know those by heart. All right, B,
can you do me, if that's okay with everyone, can we just
Yeah.
add it to C? Instead of,
We're removing A. We're removing
I-
A, so now it's just A and B.
well, I could put it
Okay.
including or with
got
emphasis
it,
on.
okay, got it.
Well, it's really about distinguishing between what the chancellor's supposed to do and what you're supposed to
Right,
do.
and that was, I don't want to get.
Chancellor board roles,
Yeah, that's what the point,
delineation.
that's why.
I'll just add, I'll fix it.
Okay.
Okay, and then the last one, strengthen communication and support the implementation of a system to coordinate, this is a challenge for everybody, and prioritize requests from individual trustees and ad hoc committees more effectively. That's that pressure on staff to do these 1,000 things y'all want, right?
Pretty much.
So are you going to work on that? Are you going to really do it? It was on there in 2022. Did you get it done?
This is your time, guys, because I know some of you have different, I think it went better last year, in my opinion, but you guys all can.
We actually grew.
Yeah.
We didn't
The-
we didn't reduce.
The idea was, I just want to preface this, the idea was equity within everyone having the same resources in everyone's committees was really the goal
Right.
of that. That's pretty much it for me, so.
Well, one of the comments that I made at the year end that we did from last year's goals was that not every ad hoc committee got the same level of support.
Right.
Mhm.
And we should, yeah.
And that's a challenge. And so I think, like I'll use the example, well, two things I want to sort of raise just because one, our committees as structured are now about 10 years old. No, 8 years old, 9 years old. They're as old as me when I got here, but should probably get refreshed or at least revisited in terms of their goals or in terms of how they work and what the topics that fall underneath them. We have a couple of like ongoing, like basic student needs. I think we tuck it in sometimes in IESS, but sometimes they can be a budget presentation. Sometimes they can be a facilities one, and maybe that's fine, but it may be just that we just need a refresh, right? And so I think, when we say whether it's inventory or looking at the committee, we have standing committees that are supposed to be the core where we do our work.
Mhm.
And we might need to take a look at like,
So you want to keep this one? I mistakenly put it on here because it was a 4-3 to eliminate it.
I think the thing is we've gotten a list, we know what it all is. The question is are we in a position to want to engage in change?
So
So,
I just wanted to let you guys all know, as board president this year, I did let the chancellor know whoever was leading these ad hocs to check in with you, if you wanted to still keep them, because to be really honest with all of you, you might have a different opinion if you're chairing an ad hoc that you're interested in, so on and so forth. And then from there, we were going to discuss it here. And so, I just want to let you know that so far, everyone was interested in keeping because the ad hocs are only as successful as the people who chair them and show up to every single, like I had the LGBT Chancellor's Affairs Committee, but it's only 4 times a year. So for
But
me, it's manageable.
If it's an ad hoc is a short-term committee for a specified period of time.
Well, that's
If it's
the other
going
thing.
a
Don't-
year,
You're
that's
right.
like,
Let's not be
that's
keeping them for 5 years, right? I get that. So, right.
they have a specific task and a specific period of time. Otherwise, you're getting into a standing committee where you're gonna,
But as
you
board
wanna-
president, I didn't want to make the decision myself to cut ad hocs.
Yeah.
I wanted him to Chancellor to talk to each ad
Yeah.
hoc lead
that's fair.
and say, hey, how long are you going to be keeping this, right? Like, you're on your 5th year of the ad hoc,
Oh, my goodness.
and no, no shade on everyone. That I was
That's
hoping.
shade, Chair.
Yeah. But that was kind of what I hope, you guys can all discuss on your own and
Right.
figure it out,
So we're taking C out then, or we're
I
keeping
say
it?
that-
Gonna take it out? You hear that, trustee Barris? Okay,
Well, I think if you, because C and B say the same kind of thing. So,
okay.
if we keep B, strength and communication, implementation, I think it's fine. It's better than, the inventory is static. We've done that already.
6 o'clock, I'm done.
Oh, okay, all right. Can we say a round of applause for Dr. Benjamin, everyone?
That's, I think so.
I do. UMPA.
Okay. We get up.
Oh, wait, so I just wanted to, first of all, again, thank everybody. We do have to adjourn the meeting. Yes, thank you so much. Lupe, do we have any speakers for items not
This
on
is
the
what it
agenda?
looks like, prettied up.
Nobody signed up? Okay, thank you so much. If there's no objection, meeting adjourned. Thank you all so
Okay,
much.
I'm just giving you a sample of what it's gonna look like when you're done with the goals. You're welcome.